It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Now this year, this has been a response of mine for a lot of administrative structural changes that have been coming into reality this year, like a new governance system. And a lot of the ways we as a fellowship would like to be in function, but are not yet able to or fully living into. I will sometimes just say, we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Now, the truth is, sometimes I do have actually a pretty good idea of how we'll get there, a plan even, and sometimes we all have an idea or a plan of how we'll get there, such as our 2-year strategic plan some of you learned about last month. And even with plans, I still find this lyric so helpful because it helps me to remember that even when we have a plan, life changes, right? And I'm able and willing to have another better way present itself. I hope we all are, for change is a thing we have to take some leaps of faith in, even those of us who would say we have no faith. There is trust in change, just as there is trust in relationship. And it's this trust, and dare I say, surrender to the process, allowing ourselves to be changed, that enables transformation to happen. Now, this community knows something about change and transformation. The previous settled minister leaving under heartbreaking and relationship-tearing circumstances. And then weeks later, a global pandemic occurring. A community that was fracturing, suddenly needing to come together to be literal life support for one another during unimaginable, unknown, and downright scary circumstances. And you all did it. Most fellowships did not grow stronger, did not come together, did not grow during a pandemic. But you all did because you chose to turn towards one another. Despite some distrust, despite some relationships on the brink, you chose to stay together. And slowly still, you are turning back towards one another more deeply, working to trust one another and build that full, caring, justice-making, shared life together. Now, newer folks who weren't here during this time, I share this because I think it's helpful to know the history of a community you're joining, and because I trust that you might have experienced similar fracturings and pains with other communities or families you've been a part of. Most of our lives are not lived without some pain and heartbreak in relationship, right? And I suspect that some of you new folks might have found your way here seeking a new community amidst pandemic and another loss, grief, or change in your lives. And this is why I share with you all that this is a community that has known loss and damage, pain and heartbreak, and has known healing, that has turned towards one another in difficult times, making their lives and community better for it. This is a place working on building real relationship, knowing that these can be heartbreaking, healing, and transformational. This is a place where people are not just changed for good, but changed for goodness. We are about being in real caring community. We are about spiritual growth and change for individuals, as well as healing, justice, and liberation for individuals and for all, for our world. We long to become a fully inclusive, compassionate faith community, working boldly and deeply for justice, right? Thank you. And because this is what we are about, others who we don't yet know, who are about this too, will want to join us and will keep wanting to join us because we all want to have purpose and be a part of something bigger than ourselves. Something that can help us to live out our values into the world and shape that world. Now, the good news is that we are more effective together when more of us are working towards this mission and vision, and we are kept more real and honest together in relationship. Now, because more people will want to move on our shared mission to action and our shared vision, more people will want to move it to reality. We will keep joyously welcoming new people to enable these goals to become more real. Together, we will bring a more just, loving, and beautiful reality into being, and we will keep growing. And this will be mostly wonderful, and also there will be some hard parts and some growing pains. And so to help us center into how good these growing pains are, I invite you to join me in a very simple responsive reading inspired by our sibling congregation in Chapel Hill. Your words are, "What a good problem to have." This morning, I had to wait in a line to use the restroom. The parking lot is full. There aren't enough seats in the fellowship hall. We're going to have to move to 2 services again next year. We don't recognize everyone. The nursery is overflowing with too many kids. We have different cultural celebrations and reality to incorporate into our shared fellowship life. We might sometimes need to move out of leadership or out of the center of this fellowship so that other people can move in. We need to get to know new people to invite them into congregational life. We have so many amazing individuals, groups, and programs in our fellowship. Just a couple more, but they're all important. We have more people who want to bring about our vision of an inclusive, compassionate faith community working boldly and deeply for justice. We have more people working to foster spiritual growth, care for each other, protect and preserve the earth, and work for peace and justice. What good problems to have indeed. In the musical Wicked, Glinda, the Good Witch of the South, says to Elpha, the Wicked Witch of the West, "I've heard it said that people come into our lives for a reason, bringing something we must learn, and we are led to those who help us most to grow if we let them, and we help them in return." Well, she says, I don't know if I believe that's true, but I know I'm who I am today because I knew you. Well, I don't know if I believe that's true. A skepticism that feels familiar to many of us Unitarian Universalists, right? And still, Glinda allows herself to be changed by Elphaba, just as Elphaba allows herself to be changed by Glinda. Their relationship changes and transforms them. Though opposites in many ways, they forged this transformational relationship through many years of ups and downs, heartbreak and healing. They grew trust through this hurt and heartbreak, a relationship where both grew and changed thanks to the other. Now, ultimately, they actually depose a fraudulent leader who was hurting its people, its animals, and land, and together were able to usher in a world that is more just and good. Together, Glinda and Elphaba were able not only to be changed by one another for good, but also to transform their land into one that was more good and just. They were changed for good and for goodness, becoming agents for goodness in their world, just as they experienced in their relationship. This is my prayer for us. May we know one another, be changed for good by one another, and change our world for goodness with one another. I do have faith that we already are, that there has been a change blowing here for a couple of years now, and that it is a good wind, some blessing, no matter what we believe about blessings, breathing out. Let's be moved by it and move it. Let's be changed for good and changed for goodness.